Hello everybody and welcome to the Reprieve Media CIC double handful coverage of day 3 of the 2025 Cheltenham Festival. My name is Paul Newman. I am the Director and Secretary of Reprieve Media CIC, and thank you very much for joining us today. It's very much appreciated, and I hope you enjoy what we've got for you, which is a preview of the third day, the third of 4 of the 2025 Cheltenham Festival. Steve Allpress is actually on course today. I sit here recording this just before the feature race on day 2, the Queen Mother Champion Chase, featuring John Bon, looking to break his Cheltenham Festival duck. Can he do it? We will know soon. Steve is actually attending today's Cheltenham Festival, so unfortunately he had to do his day 3 recordings in a car. So thank you very much to Steve for taking the time to do that. So I'll get underway today first, I think, with the first race of the day, which is the Mares Novice Hurdle, Grade 2 race, which is registered as the Dawn Run Novice Hurdle. Very interesting division this for me, the Mares Novice Hurdles. I always like to identify the good dams and the good mares, if I could. And this season, I thought I had a few good ones. I had horses like Flash Away and Anno Power. There's others as well, Amen Kate. But they've all, for one reason or another, most of them have been proved not good enough this season up to this point. So as a consequence, there's 24 runners in this race, and I've only got one of them running for me. So that is the one I'm going to focus on in the race. Maureen is the horse, trained by Willie Mullins. The horse has only ever had 2 runs in its life. It's won a bumper quite easily in National Hunt Race, and then it came out and won a maiden hurdle earlier in the season. The horse is actually from the family of legendary hurdler Forheen. So obviously with a horse with 2 runs and 2 victories, the potential for the horse at this stage has to be described as limitless. I'm sure there are plenty of other nice mares in here. They're just not on my radar yet. It'll be the sort of race that if Maureen was to fall short in, I would look at a few, and maybe because the Mares Chase as well coming up, isn't there? But yeah, in this year, my Mares Novice Hurdlers have sadly, for some reason or another, just not managed to get here. So I've only got one. I'd like normally to have at least 5 or 6 in this race because, I like to have mares on side, and it's just not happened for my mares this year. For some reason, they've been very contrary. Over the jumps as well, I've had mares beat, like Fun was beat. It's just not happened for them this year, sadly, yet. But Maureen in this race, the Mares Novice Hurdle, must go there with some sort of a chance, So let's hope that she runs well. Right, it's over now to my co-host for the week, Steve Allpress. I have no idea whereabouts he was when he was recording this segment. But Steve, it's over to you for your look at the Grade 2 Dawn Run Mares Novice Hurdle.
Hi Paul, how you doing? Great to be back here for day 3 Cheltenham Festival preview. Obviously it's been a good start to the festival, and hopefully we can continue the good run of form. We're going to start off with the opening race on day 3, which is the Mares Novices Hurdle, over 2 miles. I think all eyes in this race will be on the Willie Mullins trained Maureen. She's got a big reputation, and she won a bumper last season in exciting fashion. She's had 1 hurdle start to date a month or so ago. She was probably more workmanlike than impressive, but there's a lot of improvement to come from her, I feel, and it's going to be exciting to see what she can produce. And certainly going forward, she's a horse that I think a lot of people will have eyes on. However, my selection in this race is the Gavin Cromwell trained 6.5. She won a maiden at Fairyhouse not so long ago. She went away by about 12 lengths, I think it was, and she was visually impressive that day, and she stayed on strongly. Her and Maureen are going to be disputing favouritism, but I'd imagine 6.5 might go off favourite. Might go off favourite here, and I think she's going to be pretty hard to beat. There's a couple of other good mares in the race, but all in all, I feel these are the two mares to concentrate on. But my selection for the race is 6.5 from the Gavin Cromwell stable.
Thank you very much to Steve there for finding the time on his way to day 2 of the Cheltenham Festival to give his views on the mare's hurdle. He seems quite strong on the Gavin Cromwell trained horse, doesn't he? So if people listen back to the double handful coverage of probably 4 or 5 years ago, I used to refer to this race as the Allpress mares and Novice hurdle, because it was always guaranteed to have something for it. And so hopefully he'll be back on form for that race. But yeah, I did notice he did mention Maureen as well. So yeah, hopefully they both run well and they all come back safe and sound. Big field in that race this year. The next race, the 2 o'clock race, is a race for me that I think has been totally ruined by the people that run the Cheltenham Festival, because Steve hasn't even decided to do a piece on the race this year, because it's now a handicap, the 2.5 mile novice handicap chase. It used to be called the Golden Miller Chase. It's had a few names in the incarnation. The Turner's Chase, I think it used to be called. Won by horses like York Hill in the past has won it. You know, other horses have obviously won it, but that would be the one off the top of my head that I remember. So yeah, very disappointing that they've decided to turn down the quality of the race this year. So it is what it is. You know, I didn't have one horse running for me in the Arkle, did I? I had in the Brown Advisory today, I had a couple, but you're seeing now a few Newman horses coming out in this race, unfortunately, that for one reason or another have not been even aimed at the level weights races. This race is still a grade 2, unfortunately, despite it being a handicap, which would probably mean that grade 3 that I didn't say was a handicap yesterday might have been after all. But this is a grade 2 handicap, unfortunately. The first one I'm going to touch on is Firefox. Looks a bit of a bridesmaid horse to me, doesn't it now? It was a grade 1 placed many times as a novice hurdler. All I was hoping for was he would actually improve from hurdles to fences by a good 15 or 20, and then he'd have been top class. But if people look at his novice chase form, I think you'll see that it doesn't really happen for him over fences either. His form seems to have been of a similar level, which would probably indicate why he was running in this handicap and not maybe in the Arkle. You know, because I always had him down as a 2 mile chaser as well. You know, it'd be interesting to see how the horse gets on tomorrow regarding trip up the hill at Cheltenham. Another one I'm going to touch on quickly is Di Capo, who to me just looks badly handicapped horse. You know, for the conditions of this race. If people look at the chase form of Di Capo, he's a nicely bred horse from the World Lecker dam line. You know, he's got nice female pedigree. If you look at the horse, his racing post ratings have not even come anywhere near approaching what he's running off tomorrow. 146, I think. And he's never even ran anything near 140 in his races. He was winning a decent race when he fell once. But, you know, but to me, that's a badly handicapped horse. I'd be very surprised. He's the third top weight, I think. And I'd be surprised if he was as good as the others that were near the top of the mark. Just not very well handicapped. Off level weights, I think he'd probably beat a few of these, but it's just not a level weights race, is it? Coldwell Potter, the enigmatic Coldwell Potter, bought for about €700,000, wasn't it? He's turned up in this race after, quite frankly, an abysmal training campaign, really. You know, the horse won first time out, sent all the way from Wincampton to Carlisle to a pincher race, I think he was on his debut. And it's just not worked out for him. He's been well beaten in his last two chase starts, and is looking as though he's just not as good as I was hoping he would be. He was another one that I was hoping to develop into some sort of an Arkle horse, Caldwell Potter. You know, one of my favourites he was at the start of the season. You know, I was looking forward to seeing him run one arguably the most. But he was beaten somewhere. He beaten at Newbury, weren't he? And then he was beaten again at Windsor. Was it Newbury in his second start? I think it might have been. But yeah, and then he was well put in his place at Windsor, wasn't he, by Gidley Park? There was no excuses there. But again, I've had others like Down Memory Lane, Gidley Park. The novice chasers to me this year, until today, obviously, have been fallen slightly short, of what I was hoping they would be so far. But yeah, Coldwell Potter to me it'd just be like him to come and win this race, wouldn't it? But yeah, I've got three in the race. Coldwell Potter, Firefox, and Di Capo. I don't think Steve did anything on the race at all because he was so busy. So what we'll do is I will move on to the next race. I think after that, the Ryanair Chase, Grade 1 race sponsored by a Bilderberger. And I'm glad to say that Steve managed all the way from the car on to Cheltenham Festival, come in to manage to find time to do a quick piece on the Ryanair to give his views. So Steve, it's over to you.
So then, now on to the Ryanair Chase, a Grade 1 over 2.5 miles. We've got a warm order favourite in here in the Willie Mullins trained Factifile. Factifile obviously won the Brown Advisory last year and has since gone on to win the John Durkan at the beginning of the season over 2.5 miles. Then stepped up in trip. They obviously was hoping he'd turn out to be a Gold Cup horse, but it appears that he hasn't quite shown that he stays the trip well enough for me. Hence why he's back down in trip for the Ryanair Chase. I do feel this is the correct move for the horse, to be honest with you, at this stage of its career. I just feel taking on Galopin des Champs and going over that extra quarter of a mile, I just think it's probably the wrong thing to do. So I do feel, all in all, that coming here to the Ryanair is the right thing for this horse, and obviously it's going to take a fair bit of beating. It's going to be an interesting renewal because obviously you've got the French superstar Ile Francais in here, and obviously he's going to bold off in front, and it's going to be a catch me if you can race on paper. Obviously that horse has looked impressive round Kempton and several times back at home in France. However, he's not run on an undulated track like Cheltenham, and it's the question mark is, will he be able to operate around this track like he does on those flat tracks? So there's obviously a question mark there, but the horse has got a lot of ability, and if he can get an easy lead on the front end like you'd expect him to, obviously it's going to be very interesting. And for me, the race isn't really going to heat up until they come down the hill approaching 2 out. So yes, it's an intriguing race. It's a bit unfortunate Gaelic Warrior's not in here. Obviously he's had a bit of a disappointing season. I feel they campaigned him over the incorrect trip, hence why things have gone wrong for him. But obviously he's not been declared for this. So for me, those two mentioned are the ones to concentrate on here most. I'll just give a brief mention to last year's winner, Protectorat. Protectorat's a good horse in his own right. Again, he's been a bit hit and miss here and there, but he was very good at Windsor last time, and obviously he was back to form there. So if he can reproduce what he did there or at the Ryanair last season, he's going to be in the mix. But for me, these other two, they've got a little bit of a class edge over him, and I'd be surprised if he can lower their colours. My selection for the race is going to be Factifile. I think he's a solid horse. I think you know what you're going to get with him, and I do think 2.5 miles is going to suit him a lot more than 3 miles. He's going to be held up. I'm in hope that he doesn't let Ile Francais get too much ground on him early on, but he might have to just sit and suffer for a while, because I think it's pretty obvious that's going to happen. But yeah, hopefully he won't be too far away coming down the hill, and then he can come with a late challenge. So yeah, he's my selection for the Ryanair Chase, Factifile.
Thank you very much to Steve Allpress there for finding the time to cover the Ryanair Chase on day 3 of the 2025 Cheltenham Festival. Sounds like they're having a great time in that car. That's proper dedication that just goes to show how important it is that Steve gives his opinions on double handful. He's never missed the Cheltenham Festival day since Reprieve Media CIC was incorporated. He's managed to find the time voluntarily to give us something, and we'll always be eternally grateful to Steve for doing that. The Ryanair Chase, well, like I said yesterday, I'm not really one for these open races. All the horses are just exposed now, what they are. Steve mentioned Gaelic Warrior in his piece. I mean, I'd have been disappointed if he'd have turned up in this race. I've always seen him as a proper horse, an Arkle horse or a Gold Cup horse. This race for me has always been the sort of the in-between race for horses too slow for the champion chase and non-slayers in the Gold Cup. You know, it's why it's sponsored by Bilderberger, you know, because it really is a symbol of mediocrity, you know. So, to me, anyway, not mediocrity, but you know what I mean? They're not blue ribbon races. They've invented this race recently. It's not a traditional blue ribbon Cheltenham race like the other two. It's been shoehorned in. So, but to me, I mentioned my old mate Protectorate. I think he won the race last year. It might have even been the year after now. I do remember him winning the race. But yeah, he's 10 years old now, the old boy. How many years can Protectorate have left in him? You know, that would be one of my main concerns now as the lad hits 10 years old. Like Steve said, though, he showed at Windsor last time that he was more than capable still. 10 years old, though. Don't really follow many 10-year-old horses if I can help it. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Protectorate goes. But yeah, it'll be a good race to watch, and hopefully all connections will come back safe and sound. Right, on to the feature race of the day now, the Stayers Hurdle, the 3-mile hurdle race. This is always one of the highlights of the week, one of the proper blue ribbon races of the week, as opposed to the Ryanair. So I will hand over to Steve Allpress again to take a look at the Stayers Hurdle. Steve, it's over to you.
So on to the feature race, the Stayers Hurdle. This is a race in the past where we've had some great champions, the likes of Ingoldsdriver, Big Bucks, and obviously we have a horse in here going for his second win in the race in Tierpoo, trained by Gordon Elliott. Tierpoo's a horse that's been a lightly raced horse over the last few seasons, and obviously appreciates a lot of cut in the ground, which he isn't likely to get here. So obviously there'll be a lot of people opposing this horse, but I think if you just base everything on the track and what they've done on the track, I think Tierpoo's the best horse in the race in terms of ability. It's just whether the ground's going to be too quick for him on the day. I'd still probably chance with Tierpoo because I just feel that sometimes the class might just show through. There's a few of the horses in this race. They're fair horses, but they're a little bit in and out, and I don't think they show quite the same level of form as the favourite. If I was looking at one of the other ones to run well here, I think the Nicky Henderson horse at Lucky Place is one to keep an eye on. He's around about 7 to 1. He's been a horse that's been campaigned so far up to 2.5 miles, so he's yet to tackle this 3-mile trip, but I think his running style suggests that he won't have any problem getting the trip, and he could be the horse in the race that's open to a lot more improvement than some of the others, the likes of Home by the Lee and those type of horses. Another horse in the race that's a horse that will have no problem getting the trip is the Wall Park. But my question with him is, has he got the actual class of the likes of Tierpoo to win the race? So yeah, my selection for the Stayers Hurdle, maybe a bit boring to some, but I'm going to stick with Tierpoo. The ground might be against him a little bit, but sometimes these class horses, they find a way of getting through these kind of things that are against them. So yeah, Tierpoo is my selection for the Stayers Hurdle.
Again, I mean, how does this man find the time to do what he does, all on a volunteer basis. This is a voluntary organisation, little old Reprieve Media CIC, and every year since we were incorporated, Steve has managed to find the time, no matter really what situation he's in, either at home or whether he's travelling on course. I think this is the first time we've had him from a car. I'm not entirely sure. But this is absolutely brilliant. Steve, we'll always be grateful. I myself, on a personal level, will always be grateful as well. That we, Reprieve Media CIC, will always be grateful as well on a professional level. Thank you so much for taking the time to take a look at the Stayers Hurdle. Steve will be back shortly with some selections and each way and a win selection for day 3. But I've got to touch on Mystical Power first in this race, I think. I will probably chance her in the race, or him, sorry, by Galileo, out of Annie Power. I think the horse was second behind Real Steel, or whatever the horse was called, Slade Steel, in last year's Supreme Novices Hurdle. They've tried it in 2 miles open company hurdling this year, and it's just not happened for the horse. It's looked as though the horse just not been good enough to mix it with. They've tried it in some two top class races, and it's been absolutely stuffed out of sight every time. So I don't know whether at one point they will go novice chasing with it, but to me, it's a horse they've always thought a lot out of because of the pedigree. And I wonder if it will manage to stay the trip tomorrow, 3 miles. I think if this horse Mystical Power manages to stay the trip, it's a player in this race, because the race, if the quality is what it is, they're all exposed. They're normally, I'm surprised Paisley Park and Champ haven't come back for another run. Do you know what I mean? It's just that division, it just needs new blood in it. It really does. Has done for some while, in my opinion. But to me, it'll be interesting to see how Mystical Power gets on in that race. It's not really, like I said, I'm more of a novice juvenile hurdle, novice chase man. But if in the big grade 1 races, if my horses are good enough, then obviously I would like them to win it. But I'm all about trying to find winning decent horses on the flat. But I do like a well-bred horse over what I consider a well-bred horse, and if I find one over hurdles, I will follow it. And you don't get many better bred ones than this. This is a brilliant pedigree. You've got Galileo and Annie Power. You look at the female dam line of Annie Power. I mean, prolific producer of flat classic winners, in Germany in the 80s and that, all the way back. Brilliant. So that would be one I would have to flag up in this race, Mystical Power, without any shadow of the doubt. All right, the last 2 races of the day are what they are. I think they're handicaps. I think one of them is the Kim Muir, and I'm not entirely sure what the other one is. So it's what it is. Neither Steve or myself has got anything for the handicaps. I've managed to join Mr. Allpress today in managing to swerve the handicaps, which is always a fantastic thing to do. So what I will do before I give my selections is I will take a quick breath and I will hand over to Steve Allpress, who will come back and give his selections for day 3 of the 2025 Cheltenham Festival. Steve, it's over to you.
So then I'm going to now go on to giving you my win and each way selections for day 3. My win selection is going to be 6.5 in the Mares Novices Hurdle. And my each way selection, we haven't actually touched on this race, but I've found a horse that I've been a little bit of a fan of over the past year or so, although it's not really reached the heights. It's not really reached top level at the highest grade, and that's a horse called Firefox in the Jack Richards Handicap Chase. Obviously it's got some nice form, hurdles and chase form, but a little bit below top level. But I feel put into a handicap here, this horse has got a very good chance, and he'd be an each way selection for me. Just before I go, obviously I'm not sure how the recording is for you for this. Obviously I'm in the car just on my way to Cheltenham now. The weather looks fairly dry again from what I can see, so hopefully all the horses will do themselves justice again today, and I'll be back with you for day 4, the final day of the Cheltenham Festival, and I'll be giving you my next best selection of the week. I've got a horse that I've been looking forward to now for a good couple of months, and I hold this horse in very, very high regard, and I'm looking forward to this one, not just for Friday's card but going forward. All right, thanks very much, and I'll speak to you again. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you very much to Steve Allpress there for his selections on day 3 of the 2025 Cheltenham Festival. I'll recap them shortly, but first I will give my selections. I think, well, yesterday I only gave one selection in Lecky Watson. I mean, today the way the cards have fallen, I'm going to give three each way selections. I'm going to give you today, I think, for Cheltenham Festival in the 120 at Cheltenham. Hopefully, I saw by the prices I sort of saw today, Maureen each way in the 120 at Cheltenham. In the 2 o'clock at Cheltenham, I'm only going to Coldwell Potter. Got 3 in the race. Coldwell Potter each way, hopefully, would be the one I would be most confident about. I'll be looking to try and get a profit on the horse, 6 or 7 to 1, if I could get that. If these are below 5 to 1, any of these, then just don't back them. Back Maureen to win, because she's the only one in the race. But in the 2 o'clock, Coldwell Potter each way above a certain price, 6 to 1, above that. You know, Firefox and DiCapo, you know, back them if you want, but I probably won't be, you know, very much. 2 o'clock at Cheltenham, Coldwell Potter. The 4 o'clock at Cheltenham, I have to suggest a little interest each way on Mystical Power, I think. She's just too well-bred a horse for me not to. So, it'll be interesting to see how they go. I'll just recap Steve's selections quickly. Steve's win selection was 6.5 in the 120 at Cheltenham. And Steve's each way selection was Firefox in the 2 o'clock at Cheltenham. Very interesting that we were to give that. And that's the horse, I remember him flagging it up to me 2 or 3 or 4 years ago. He goes, I've seen this horse with this bumper. It's a great horse. That was the year before it come out, won another bumper, and then beat Ballyburn first time out. You know, Steve's been following this horse quite a while, Firefox, definitely. He's always been a bit more into it than me. He was the one that actually showed me the horse. And I looked at the pedigree of it, and I thought, yeah, that's not too bad. And I'll stick it on the list and see how it goes. So in the end, I've got involved with it as well. Funny old sport racing. Not many other people persuade me to follow horses, but like I said the other day, this man here, Steve Allpress, is a man to listen to when he talks about horse racing, which is why I try and amplify his voice as much as I can. Right, before we go, thank you very much to everybody for choosing to listen to the Day 3 preview from Double Handful. I'll just recap my selections quickly as well, and then I will wrap up just in case people tuned in and missed them. 120 at Cheltenham, Maureen each way. 2 o'clock at Cheltenham, tricky race for me because I've got 3 in it. If above 6 to 1 on the day, Coldwell Potter each way. 4 o'clock at Cheltenham, Mystical Power each way. They are my selections. I hope you've enjoyed the content today. Steve and myself are hoping to be back for the final day of the Cheltenham Festival, Gold Cup Day. You can tell there that Steve's already thinking of that from what he said. But for now, take care, everybody. Have a fantastic day. Look after yourselves and your loved ones. And goodbye.